Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
For the first time in American history, a former U.S. president has been convicted of a felony. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi.
Guilty, 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 guilty.
Donald Trump has been found guilty of all 34 counts of falsifying business records in his New York hush money trial. The 6-week trial centered on the concealment of a hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels just ahead of the 2016 election. The jury found the manner in which Trump reimbursed his former lawyer Michael Cohen constituted falsification of business records. After leaving court, Trump called the verdict a disgrace and continued to claim he did nothing wrong. He added that voters will have the final say in the case when they vote in the presidential election.
It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here.
Trump will be sentenced July 11th. The judge could sentence Trump to probation or up to 4 years for each count in state prison, with a maximum of 20 years. About 100 San Diego residents are suing the city over damages caused by the January floods. Attorneys from the firms Aguirre, Severson, and Gomez trial attorneys announced the class action lawsuit today. The lawsuit says residents have been affected by the city's, quote, utter failure to maintain its Troyes Creek flood control infrastructure. Robert Villa lost his family's home in the flooding and is speaking on behalf of his neighbors who say they want justice and for the city to take accountability.
The city failed us. Plain and simple, failed us, neglected, ignored, and didn't come to the aid the way that we thought that they would. You know, having to be with my handicapped sister on one little step stool as the water is up to here, and she freaking out with her mentality, not knowing what's going to happen.
The lawsuit alleges the city misled the public about repair projects for the Troyes Creek storm prevention infrastructure that were listed as accomplishments when they were either years away from completion or yet to be completed. It also alleges that money designated for stormwater infrastructure, repairs, and maintenance was used to buy the 101 Ash Street building, which has been the subject of lawsuits and a criminal investigation. A spokesperson from the city attorney's office says they do not comment on pending litigation. Local realtor associations are encouraging homeowners and renters affected by the January flooding to apply for up to $2,900 in financial assistance. KPBS reporter Melissa May says there are almost $1 million available, and the deadline to apply is tomorrow.
When President Joe Biden issued a disaster declaration in response to the January flooding, grant money from the National Realtors Relief Foundation became available for county residents impacted by flooding.
They collect contributions from realtors all across the country. So these are real estate agents, brokers, and it's just through the generous contributions of them to contribute to this fund.
The Greater San Diego Association of Realtors and Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors received a $1.16 million grant to assist flood victims.
This program in particular here in San Diego is providing relief for monthly housing payments for residents. A lot of times when there's a natural disaster, people are displaced. There's a lot of repair costs. They may have to go sign a new lease at a new apartment if they're renting. So there's kind of three components of this grant. One is mortgage relief, one is rent relief, and the other is hotel reimbursements.
Both homeowners and renters may apply to receive up to $2,900.
What the residents choose to do with the money when they get it is really up to them. I mean, it's designed to offset the cost of that housing payment. So, if you're all squared away with your housing payment, but you have other costs that you've incurred because of the storm, you can use that money however you wish.
So far, he says the associations have received 130 applications, and almost $1 million is still available.
We've given out around $120,000 in checks to local residents, and that comes from people all across San Diego County. Most are in the impacted communities in Southwest San Diego, but we even had some people as far up as North County who needed to apply for this relief.
People who received money from FEMA are still eligible to apply. To see if you qualify and to submit your application, go to go.sdar.com/flood-assistance by May 31st. Melissa May, KPBS News.
A UC San Diego professor says San Diego County officials retaliated against her after she filed a complaint, alleging that then County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher sexually harassed a student. Julie Beth Hines alleges in a Superior Court lawsuit that a female student told her about Fletcher's behavior. At the time, Fletcher was also an adjunct professor at UC San Diego. Hines filed a complaint with the university almost immediately after. County officials canceled an outside consulting contract she had with them. She is seeking damages of nearly $280,000. In March 2023, Fletcher resigned from the Board of Supervisors after a Metropolitan Transit System employee alleged in a lawsuit that she was sexually harassed by Fletcher. Earlier this year, Fletcher filed a countersuit denying the allegations and accusing her of defamation. California's gas tax is set to rise 2 cents starting next month, but one county lawmaker is taking a stand against it. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen breaks down the cost and why the tax is increasing.
If there's any good news for drivers over the past 3 weeks or so, it's that gas prices have been dropping. Prices are nearly 30 cents lower than it was a month ago, according to AAA. The prices could rise again come July because the California excise tax will increase by 2 cents a gallon.
2 cents a gallon may not sound a lot, but when everything has increased.
Brianna Chittick is a mother of 4 in Valley Center. She says even a tiny increase adds to the financial burden on her family.
Just to go visit friends, just to go get groceries, just to go to sports or any extracurricular activities or necessities as a family, 2 cents is just an addition to every increase that has been happening. Our groceries are more expensive. Everything that we do is more expensive.
According to Caltrans, 80% of highway and road repairs are paid for by the excise tax. And on average, Californians pay roughly $300 a year on state gas taxes. Changes to the excise tax happen yearly on July 1st, based on the changes in the California Consumer Price Index. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond thinks the state should pause this year's increase.
This is not the time. We've got people and businesses leaving California. And we are creating an environment where people don't want to stay here.
Desmond plans to introduce a resolution at next week's Board of Supervisors meeting, asking the governor to suspend the increase. This is not the first time Republican politicians have called for a pause or elimination of the state excise tax. It's been happening yearly since 2021.
Here's a breakdown of what you're paying in taxes and fees for your gasoline, and we're rounding this up to the nearest cents. You're paying 2 cents for the underground storage fee, 11 cents for the state sales tax and local sales tax, 58 cents for the state excise tax, and 18 cents for the federal excise tax.
Come July 1st, the excise tax will rise to 60 cents a gallon. San Diego State economist Joe Silverman doesn't think that taxes alone account for the high prices in California. He's analyzed the difference in state and federal gasoline excise taxes for all 50 states.
Still about 50 to 75 cents a gallon that cannot be accounted for by the fact that we pay a substantially higher gasoline tax than they do in other states.
He thinks the oil companies are charging more to brace for the state's mandate that all new cars sold in California will be zero emission by 2035. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
After testing it out in 12 states, the IRS is looking to expand and extend its free tax filing program permanently. In 2025, Direct File will be available to taxpayers with certain simple federal returns in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. California was included in the pilot program this past tax season. More than 140,000 people used the service. The IRS plans to gradually increase the number of eligible taxpayers in the coming years. Outdoor dining patios at restaurants that became popular during the pandemic may soon become a thing of the past in Chula Vista. During the pandemic, the city issued temporary permits to allow restaurants to expand on public property. That way, people could socially distance and businesses could remain open. The city says the decision to get rid of the sidewalk patios is to help other establishments, but some business owners say they want to work with the city to keep them around.
We want to have a discussion, a civil dialogue. You know, these decks have, of course, become a fixture for our businesses, but they're a fixture of the community.
They were taking up multiple parking spots, so just because they're helping a restaurant, they may not necessarily be helping the store next because they've lost their parking spaces.
Most permits are set to expire on June 30th, but the city authorized an additional extension to September following Labor Day. Along California's uninhabited coastal islands, biologists are seeing something that has them concerned. Hundreds of dead sea lion pups at a time of the year where normally those numbers would be in the single digits. KPBS reporter John Carroll spoke to a local expert about what could be going on.
We have discovered that scientists are seeing stillborn or premature births of California sea lions.
As the curator of SeaWorld's rescue program, Jenny Smith is plugged into the network of scientists and rescue operations along the West Coast. The population counts are still in progress, which means scientists at NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, are still trying to figure out what's leading to the spike in pup deaths. Smith says it could be that females are having to do more work to find food.
They're swimming more, their body condition is less than ideal for having their pups.
Smith says part of the reason there isn't yet an answer or answers as to what's behind the pup deaths is that NOAA surveys so far have all been aerial. But a statement from the agency hints at what could be going on. It says in part, premature births are not uncommon with sea lions and often become numerous during El Niño periods when pregnant sea lions need to swim farther in search of shifting prey species. Whatever the cause, Smith says they're closely following the situation.
We have communication meetings all the time with the Stranding Network so that we can kind of find out what's going on with other rescue facilities along the West Coast.
While the cause isn't yet apparent, one thing Smith can say for sure, at least for now, is that they're not seeing an uptick in rescues in this region. SeaWorld handles rescues from the border to the Orange County line. But if they do start to see the issue here, she says they're ready.
We will develop a plan for them once they are here. We will weigh them. We will determine their length. We will find out what their blood glucose is, what their temperature is, if they have any wounds.
SeaWorld's mission to help animals in distress can be described with 3 R's: rescue, rehabilitate, and return. And when it comes to returning, that's done with this vessel, the Second Chance. This video from SeaWorld shows one of those happy moments. On this day, the return of elephant seals. As for the California sea lion pups, the concern is far from a panic. The population of California sea lions is robust. NOAA says there are about 250,000 of them living and thriving along the coast of California. John Carroll, KPBS News.
KPBS is embarking on a new series about volunteers across our community. We're telling stories of people who devote their time in unexpected ways. In the first installment, KPBS's Katarina Portela brings us a story of a man who's teaching surfing and the importance of community and the environment to local youth.
Our graduation ceremony isn't in a classroom, isn't in a dance hall or anything like that. It's here on the beach because this is our classroom. This is where we first met the students here on this beach 2 years ago, so it only felt appropriate and full circle to come back to the same beach where they attempted to surf their first wave. My name is Mario Ordóñez Calderón, and I'm the Executive Director of Un Mar de Colores. It's essentially a 2-year scholarship program that's open to the public, and we enroll about 30 students and work with them monthly over the period of 2 years. But once they're in our program, everything's free. From the wetsuits to the surfboards to the environmental education to the surf lessons. Mar de Colores started back in 2020. It was in reflection of essentially everything that surfing brought me, from community to connection to self, to connection to the ocean, and even job opportunities, and recognizing that there was kids in my neighborhood here in Encinitas that looked like me, but that yet I'd never see at the beach. So I essentially wanted to create some sort of celebratory day that would connect the students to the ocean. But it developed to be so much more, because now we're essentially a 2-year scholarship program that's focusing on surf modules, environmental education, and mentorship. I think there's a lot of healing that happens on the coastlines, and unfortunately there's a lot of populations who have had severed relationships with it, whether it be geographical displacement or just not feeling comfortable with it nowadays.
No tengan miedo, don't be afraid, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. Let's get the kiddos out of the water. It's always the hardest thing to do.
Okay, right now we are at San Elijo Beach at a surf break called Barney's, and we are getting ready to celebrate the culmination of 2 years in our program for 15 students. They're graduating today. Right now there's a little bit of overcast going on, which is kind of nice, but the waves are pretty big, which is great. So we have a bit of a routine that we always just center around. We like to create culture with our organization. So today we usually start off with like a grounding circle where we like gather back up, talk about the intention for the day, lay out the intention for the day, and then we'll move into some breathing and yoga. And then beyond that, then we'll get into the water. We'll play in the water for about 2 hours. We'll surf. And then after that, that's when we're going to do the graduation ceremony. I think that's what really stands us apart, is that we're not just a surf camp. We're really focusing on the experience that the families are getting, from the kid to the parents, all the way to the cousins that come drop in sometimes. We're really welcoming them all.
I heard about it through a friend who is a friend of Mario. We joined because at least for me personally, I've always had a bit of a fear about being in the ocean and surfing. Even though I grew up by the water, I thought it would be a great opportunity for my kids to get a chance to learn how to surf, to connect with other kids kind of the similar backgrounds, for example, the kids in the San Diego area, and just to get to be in community. To me, being a person of color and always sometimes feeling not like I don't belong in a lot of situations, to see my kids feel so comfortable with this group and how welcoming the group is, that has been probably the best thing to observe as part of the program.
Yeah. For me, first time surfing was actually kind of hard because I didn't know how to surf. I didn't know how to swim, but I don't know how to surf. So it was kind of hard to reach the goal of getting it. But then I got to it and I reached it.
When in the water, it's very chaotic, but definitely when you get the hang of it, it's kind of calm. You just relax there until your wave comes and you feel confident enough to get on the board and, ride a wave. But it's a fun experience.
I feel about graduating, it's excited, sad but excited, because now I know how to surf by myself, and whenever I want to, I just come to the beach and surf.
Leslie, come on up.
So for me, graduating these kids, it's like seeing, my younger brother or sister graduate or something like that. It's just we're really connected, and we really do grow familial bonds with the students and with their parents, because we get to know them for 2 years. So yeah, it's a really emotional day, a celebratory day. But I was really proud of seeing all the kids step onto the plate, get their graduation certificate, I think that's exactly what we set off to do, is essentially like the courage that you find when you surf, having that transfer over into your everyday life through building community.
That story was produced by KPBS's Katarina Portela and Carolyn Corrales.
As we head into the upcoming days, there really won't be too much of a change in our pattern. In fact, we keep the clouds coming in at night, get rid of them around the same time each day, and the temperatures are staying more or less the same. Bigger changes will come as we go later into next week, especially for the interior when we start to knock those temperatures above historical average. So we're well into the triple digits, unfortunately, at that point, as we talk about many of our desert areas. Heading through tonight, we've got the clouds working their way on in as we go to the coast, places like Oceanside experiencing a little bit more of that. Temperatures in the upper 50s for lows, 60 in San Diego, and as you head towards Borrego Springs, 69 for the low. Friday, high pressure still in store here across the southwest, so that doesn't change. The big pattern hasn't changed much, and we are trying to warm things up a little bit through some of the interior, but we really don't notice too much of that. Borrego Springs 104 for that high as you head towards places like Escondido, 76 for the day. The city holding on to the mid 60s for the afternoon. As we transition through things again, we get some of those stray showers throughout the interior southwest, but ultimately high pressure is keeping things dry and bright, and we'll lose those clouds as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. So really not a whole lot of action here, especially across much of our region of California and into so much of the southwest here. As we work through the upcoming days, numbers not varying too much either. Lower 70s for the coast is about where we'll be. A little bit cooler for Saturday, but the trend holds then as we head into Tuesday. And notice what we have on tap for the inland communities, mid 70s, pretty much targeted right through the upcoming days here. We will start off with some of the clouds and the fog and then give way to more sunshine, especially as we go throughout most of the weekend. Monday, maybe a few extra clouds on tap for us. Mountain communities still looking pretty quiet here. Temperatures staying through the 60s. It's the desert communities where we stay in the triple digits and will actually go up as we head into the end of the upcoming week. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constancer.
A musical created for and by San Diego's South Bay is ready to bring the swap meet to the stage. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says Pasale Pasale is a hyper-local production that focuses on the resilience of the Latinx community.
Pasale Pasale wants to be more than just a theater performance. It's a reflection of the funny and heartwarming experiences that many in San Diego and Tijuana can relate to, along with the hustle to make ends meet.
I don't want to compete, but if I drop the swap meet, I'll get no meat on my Northgate receipt.
I grew up in National City and would go every single Saturday with my grandmother to the swap meet. We would buy clothes, household items, everything at a really great price, everything at a bargain, and have delicious food also.
Maria Patrice Amen is directing the musical and is co-artistic director of Tuyo Theater. She says the idea for the show was inspired by her experiences with a wide range of cultures and languages at the swap meet.
Everybody had that similar impulse to find a good deal, but also create businesses for themselves. It's a place where micro businesses and micro entrepreneurs can really thrive and begin to build out a business for themselves.
Well, it can't be me. I mean, my dad had a booth here for years. I've got to have...
Pasale Pasale is not only based on local places in San Diego's South Bay, it stars local actors like Analia Romero. She plays Doña Lulu, a piñata vendor.
And it's my livelihood. I don't make a lot of money, but this is the way that I make money, through selling piñatas to the swap meet people. So I'm, in a sense, the oldest vendor around.
Sophie Gonzalez is also in the musical. She's playing Veli and is the only high schooler acting in the performance.
She's the younger sister of the main character, Jaslyn, and she's just like really spunky and artistic, and she's like all over the place and like chaos monster, and she's just like really wants to sell.
Raspados, who wants a Raspado?
The storyline follows a group of vendors who are dealing with new fees and difficult economic circumstances. Eamon says it's a musical with a deeper meaning.
Within the world of theater, Latinidad isn't often represented, or when it was in the past, it was very stereotypically limited on stages. So we want to be part of that generation of artists, part of that generation of theater makers who are telling broader stories, who get to show the rich complexity of our culture.
I have some delicious.
And by free, I mean $1. Yeah, check ain't cheap.
Audiences are active participants in the show. They'll taste treats and be encouraged to sing along with the swap meet vendors as the actors find communal strength to face adversity.
This just relates with a lot of people of the Latino community. Everyone at some point has come across a swap meet, and we've all been in a position where we are in danger of losing something very important.
In a sense, my character is my grandmother in a way, and it's also other family members that have come before me that took me to the swap meets. So its deeper meaning for me is that it's familial, it's something that I remember.
Performances of Pásale Pásale are underway and run through June 30th at Bayfront Charter High School in Chula Vista. Eamon says actual South Bay food vendors will be there after each performance in case the audience needs a feel for a real swap meet.
The flavor. Vote for your favorites.
Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amita Sharma. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.